Hello, this video will discuss the rhetorical analysis, speech, essay, instructions, and hopefully cover all of our bases to help eliminate questions. But if you have any questions, please feel free to shoot me an email and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. But this essay is one that is going to be focused on the field or discipline of cultural studies and basically how we as human beings convince other people to believe as we believed. And the one thing we're going to do is we're going to look for a movie speech or a historical speech. Not a full movie, not a full event in history, but a speech given by a person. And we're going to analyze whether it was effective or not. And there's two websites you can choose from. I've got them listed here. The American Rhetoric website. It's a compilation of a lot of movie speeches and historical speeches. Or you can look on Film Site, which is another one here. Your speech has to be found out of one of those two links. Don't find it somewhere else. It has to be pulled from one of these two links. Okay? So once you find your movie speech, you have to ask yourself, okay, is it persuasive in nature? Is it motivational? It needs to be one of those two in nature, okay? And remember, the goal is not to summarize the movie or summarize the speech. The goal is to analyze it and determine why it was so effective. Like, what strategies and tools did the speaker use to impact his or her intended audience? So the paper is going to be at least 2 pages with a works cited page at the end. There's only one source that you're using, which is going to be the speech source from one of these 2 websites. And I'm going to show you how to cite that in a second. But the speech has to be cited on the works cited page and also within the essay. Typically, according to MLA, if you're only using one source, you don't have to cite it. But we're going to get in the practice of citing sources correctly, so we want to make sure that we go ahead and we can cite the source on a works cited page, and then when we use that source within our essay, we're going to use it and cite within our essay too to get in practice. The next page or 2 will show you examples of how to cite your source. Organization, keep the 5-paragraph essay in mind. I'm going to show you an example of that in just a second, and there is a sample outline that I've provided for you in Blackboard. You should have an introduction paragraph that starts off with an attention grabber, and then you name the movie, which movie titles are italicized. You name the movie that you're going to be discussing, the speech that you chose from. And then you're going to give who the speaker was and what the context of the speech was. Give a little background information. The last sentence of your introduction should be your thesis statement, where you assert that the speech is effective and then tell why, and then also refer to how it relates to contemporary American culture today. Then you'll have 3 body paragraphs. This is the meat of your paper. You'll want to discuss the rhetorical appeals that your speaker uses. There is a link in Blackboard that is labeled appeals, and these are Aristotle's persuasive appeals that you've probably heard of before. It's the ways that people and strategies that people use to appeal to others to make them believe what they believe. It's using logic and common sense. That's logos. Using ethos. That's credibility, the credibility of the speaker and who they are and what they represent and if they're an expert in the field. And then, what's right and wrong, if they're actually portraying what's right and wrong. And then pathos is just appealing to an audience's emotions in some way, shape, or form. Sometimes we're emotionally geared as a society, and we're easily convinced when, our emotions are affected. So that's always a good appeal to use if you're trying to argue a point. So you'll want to establish the logos, ethos, and pathos used in the speech that you've chosen. Those will be your 3 body paragraphs. If you only want to write about 2 of those, let's just say you want to write about ethos and pathos. Your 3rd body paragraph could be another, strategy that's used in the speech that was effective. It could be like right here, it says using repetition or the setting of the speech might be very important. Then you'll want to explain why. So I mean, there's several different things that it could be, and you could find other things in your speech to say, you know what, wow, they did that, and that was very effective. That would have convinced me of this or that. So you can write all three about all three appeals, or you can write about just two of them, and then the third body paragraph be some strategy of your choice. And you'll want to include specific examples and short quotes from your speech within your paper to support your points. And you have to cite those quotes too. And then don't forget to have a separate conclusion at the end. Your conclusion should remind the readers of your main idea, what your purpose is, and then you definitely want to summarize your main points. And this is where you could also tie it into how it relates to American culture today. You could actually even mention how the speech actually turned out, like what the outcome was of the speech. Did they end up convincing the audience or not? You know, whatever. Rules for writing: no contractions. This is what contractions are. They're considered informal, so we don't use them in academic writing. No first person, no second person wording. So this is very easy to fall in that trap. So just make sure you proofread and edit and change those before you submit your draft. Use MLA format. See the video I provided in Blackboard that shows you how to do that. You don't want points off for not setting it up in the correct format. Proofread and edit for grammar errors. Document and cite this one source, the speech source. There shouldn't be any other sources used. Cite the speech, full citation on the works cited page, and then cite that source within your essay when you use quotes and examples from it. Okay, this next page shows you how to cite your source. So remember I told you you had to pick from one of the websites I provided to pick your movie speech from or historical speech from. So if you use the American Rhetoric website, here's a sample of a works cited citation. This one's for Legally Blonde. If any of you are going to write about the speech she gives, the graduation speech she gives in Legally Blonde, then you can just copy and paste this to your works cited page and you're good to go. But the rest of us, if you're choosing another speech from this website, Ed Muller and Michael, this is all going to be the same for anybody that uses a source from here because he's the compiler of all of the speeches in this website. So it doesn't matter who is writing about what, you're going to have this first when you're working with this website. And then obviously, if you're not writing about Legally Blonde, the thing that would change here is you're going to need to change your movie speech title, depending on what your speech is. You're going to need to change the year, which is when the speech came out, and then you'll change the URL to fit your speech. So everything else will stay the same. The only thing you would be changing is if you have a different speech, change it, change the year, and change the URL. And again, this is the works cited citation. When this source is cited within your essay, it looks like this. Exactly. If you're writing about a speech that comes from the Film Site website, if you go to the Footloose sample essay that's in the resources folder for this unit, at the very end you will see that source actually came from Film Site, and you can see how that's cited on the works cited page and within the essay. But here is the formula for it. You'll have the screenwriter's last name, comma, first name, period, and please note all punctuation. Everything has to be exactly as it's listed here. That's correct MLA format. And then you have the name of the movie speech, which is in quotation marks, and you've got best film speeches and monologues. There's your large work, italicized, and then you have the URL that's specific to your speech. So this needs to be created just like that. And then whenever you cite it, within your essay, it's just going to be the screenwriter's last name. See right here? Okay, so if you'll refer back to this, it shows you exactly how to cite these sources. Again, do not write about the Footloose movie or the Time to Kill movie because I've got both of those used as samples throughout Unit 1. But here are some examples of movie titles that students like to look at and like to choose speeches from. So there's some examples here. I did want to show you that if you go to the, where am I at? If you go into the resources folder, the helpful resources folder in Unit 1, I give you two things that you're going to want to look at. Here's just a basic essay guide It kind of gives you an outline format, but this is also an outline template that's specific for the rhetorical analysis. Now, you do not have to submit an outline for me. You don't need to do that. This is just for you to plan. So if I'm going to click on this, I'll show you what it looks like. It looks like this. Okay, and it tells you what you should have. These are each separate paragraphs, and it will tell you what you should have in each paragraph. So you can look at this as a way to guide your writing. And honestly, if it were me, I'd go ahead and fill it out, because once you fill this out and put everything down that you need to put down, and you make sure you're not repeating yourself, then you've basically got your paper written for you. All you have to do is put it in paragraph format. So just be sure you can read through this. Here are a couple little tips, making sure that you cite correctly when it comes time to actually write your essay. But if you have any questions whatsoever, please refer to the helpful resources first, because there's all kinds. Here's the appeals link. There's the Footloose example. That's the video. And then here is the actual paper. So refer to that. Look at the samples. And let me know if you have any questions whatsoever. Thank you.